Hi, we're from Team Sharp, a robotics team from Pittsburgh, and we are here with week 2 of the Summer of Learning video series. We had fewer questions this week, so we decided to do a segment on distance calculation and sensors.
In order to solve the orchard challenge, many of you probably use the guess and check method, also known as dead reckoning.
But there's a better way to do it. You can calculate the distance with each rotation and then figure out how many rotations you need to cover the distance. It's not that hard and it doesn't take that long once you actually do it.
So let's try it. Calculating distance is as easy as knowing the circumference of the wheel of your robot. Circumference is the distance around a circle. Why is circumference important? It is important because it is the length of one rotation.
In order to find circumference, you use 2 pi r. The r stands for radius from the center to the outside, or half of the diameter. How do we calculate circumference? To get the number, you start with the radius of the wheel, and we have provided you with the radius, which is 1 inch.
Now, on a scientific calculator, whether a physical calculator or one online, press the pi button, then multiply by the radius, which is 1, and then by 2. If you can't find the pi button, you can always use 3.14, the first 3 digits of pi. When you hit equals, the number you get is the circumference, or the distance of one rotation.
Here, let's show you. Let's take this wheel. The radius is 1 inch. So 2 pi r is roughly equal to 6.5. You can also see it like this. If you have a string that is the circumference distance of the wheel and lay it out flat, that is the distance the robot will travel for one rotation. Since you can't measure the wheel virtually, we'll show you another way. If you open the utility table section and either use the imperial or metric distance utility world in the challenge pack and run the robot one rotation forward, you can measure the distance the robot traveled. In case you have a hard time seeing the numbers, you can zoom in by going into camera 3 and scrolling the mouse. One rotation is 20 centimeters for the Clawbot IQ if that's what you're using. Find the distance your robot needs to travel in your challenge, and then, just like you normally would, divide that distance by the distance of one rotation. And that's the number of rotations you need to go. This can work for any wheeled robot. However, it can get a little bit more complicated when the wheels have gearing. So let's take a look. For these gears, the ratio of the gears is 3 to 5, and that's the diameter. This means that for every 5 rotations of the smaller gear, you have 3 rotations for the larger gear. And there we go. If you got through the orchard challenge, then you are now moving on to the sensor portion of the Summer of Learning. So let's talk about sensors.
Sensors are what makes a robot a robot. Without sensors, your robot acts much more like a remote control car. Sensors are able to gather information from the robot's surroundings, determine the position and the state of your robot. Just as humans have eyes, ears, and fingers, robots have sensors. Sensors allow robots to make decisions from what's happening in the world around them.
There are many different types of sensors. Anything you want to know about the world around you can be measured with sensors. How bright is something, like the floor or outside? Use a photosensor. How far away is a wall? Use an ultrasonic sensor. How loud is a noise? You can use a microphone. And what angle is the robot at? You can use a gyroscope. Anything you want.
One of the most simple and useful sensors is the touch sensor.
A touch sensor is a switch that's either off or on, depending on if it's pushed. You saw an example of this in your Summer of Learning curriculum.
Some examples of using a touch sensor are as a limit switch on an arm getting up to a position, making sure that the arm stops, or if your robot has hit something like a wall.
They can sense the status of your robot in a binary way, which can be thought of as a digital connection, meaning either off or on.
There are 2 main types of sensors, digital and analog. Imagine digital, or binary, as an ordinary light switch, and analog as a dimmer switch. Since touch sensor is like a light switch, either on or off, it is digital. An ultrasonic sensor will sense like a dimmer switch and can return a numeric value to represent distance, not just on or off, meaning it is analog.
Don't forget, when you finish this course, you can take a test to show what you've learned and earn a certificate. This test will become available on...
Keep sending us your questions during the next week of the Summer of Learning. We want to hear from you.